بالعالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أما بعد النهي عن المزابنة النهي the prohibition عن المزابنة the prohibition of al-Muzābanah, and the Muzābanah is going to be explained in the Hadith as well as in the benefits below. الحديث الثالث والستون بعد مئتين, the 263rd hadith عن عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال, on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with both of them, that he said, نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن المزابنة. The Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم prohibited al-Muzābanah. Muzābanah. And there should be a kasr on the noon here. Anil Muzābanah, for ease of reading. The sukoon is right for the word an, but because we have a sukoon on the noon and a sukoon on the lam, we have to put a kasr there for ease of reading. It doesn't have any grammatical meaning to it, but just ease of reading. So naha Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam an al-Muzābanah. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibited al-Muzābanah. An yabiya thamara ha'itihi. An yabi'a, and that is a person, he sells thamara ha'itihi. Thamara, the fruits, ha'itihi. Ha'it is his walls, and a person's gardens or his farm is usually inside of some type of barrier or walls. So that's what it means here. Thamara ha'itihi, the fruits of his garden, his walled off garden, ha'itihi, for he meaning his. In kana nakhlan, if it is a palm tree, a date palm tree, be tamrin kailin. Right? If the fruits are on the nakhl, if they're still on the tree, to sell for dates which are already plucked and weighed. Kail. Kail means to be weighed out. Be tamarin kailin. So if it's dates to sell, if it's fruit that's on a palm tree, on a date palm tree, to sell what's on the tree for dates which are already weighed out, meaning plucked and weighed out. Well, in kana karman, and if it's grapes, karm, if it's grapes, and yabi'ahu bi zabibin kailin, to sell them for raisins, weighed out. So the grapes are still on the vine, they're still on the vine, and then you have someone come with some raisins which have been picked and weighed out and say, I'm going to sell you what looks like will be this amount for this amount of raisins. This is al-Muzābanah, as well as dates which are on a tree for dates which have been picked and weighed. Oh, or another description of al-Muzābanah is kana zar'an. It's a crop. And yabi'ahu bi kayli ta'am. It's a crop. It's in the ground still, and you sell it for the weight in food, which is already measured. Right? Some food which is already measured. If it measured might be the better word. Kailin, waznin would be weighed. Kailin would be measured. Some food is measured by weight, and some is measured by size. So measured might be a better word, right? So if it's dates that are on a tree, then dates which have been measured, or if it's grapes that are on the vine, then to sell them for raisins which have been measured, or if it's a crop, then to sell it for food which has been measured. Naha an dhalika kullihi. So he prohibited that, all of it. All of it. طيب. Al-Muzābanah, here Ibn Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi, the author of Umdat al-Ahkam, he says, Al-Muzābanah hiya bay'u shay'in, it is to sell something, la yu'lamu, it is not known, kayluhu, aw waznuhu, its measure or its weight is not known. O adaduhu, or the amount of them, how many there are, for example, right? 10 bunches, 10 bananas in the bunch, or whatever. Bi shay'in min jinsihi, to sell it, to sell something which you don't know its weight or its measure or its number, its quantity, for something from its same type. This is the meaning of al-Muzābanah. Al-Ma'na al-Ijmali, the general meaning, ibadullah, or worshippers of Allah, naha an-nabiyyu sallallahu alayhi wasallam an al-Muzābanah. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam prohibited al-Muzābanah. Allati hiya bay'ul ma'lum bil majhul, which is to sell something which is known for something which is unknown, min jinsihi, from its same type. Lama fihi lama fi hadha al-bay' min ad-darar, due to what this transaction, this business transaction, contains of ad-darar, of harm. Min fawaidi wa ahkam al-hadith, from the virtues and benefits and rulings of the hadith. Awalan, firstly, an-nahi an al-Muzābanah. It's clear that this hadith prohibits al-Muzābanah. Thaniyan, secondly, an buyu'atiha fasida, that these transactions, buyu'atiha, from ba ya ayn, the same as bay', transactions, buyu'atiha, that its transactions dealing in al-Muzābanah, this ha here, buyu'atiha, is referring to al-Muzābanah, are fasida, they are corrupt, they have some corruption involved in them. لأن النهي يقتضي الفساد, because a prohibition in Islam shows that there must be something corrupt involved in it. Unlike the previous nations where maybe they prohibited something on themselves, or Allah prohibited something on them in order to punish them or to restrict them or to test them, while that thing might have been good for them, then that is not our case in this ummah. Everything that's prohibited for us is bad. So an-nahi yaqtadi al-fasad. Nahi necessitates that there must be some corruption involved. The prohibition necessitates that there is some corruption. Thalith, and thirdly, hikmatun nahi anha, the wisdom in prohibiting that. Ma fiha, due to what is in it, min al-mukhatira wal-qimar, due to what is in it from danger, right, that could take place between the buyer and the seller, their families, and so on. Wal-qimar, and gambling. Rabian, fourthly, fihi dalil, in this hadith is an evidence ala tahrim, for the prohibition, bay al-rutbi bitamri, to sell rutub, which are fresh dates, for tamr, dry dates. لعدم العلم بالتساوي, because we don't know if they will be equal or not. When a date is fresh, it's still wet, it has not dried out. Once it dries out, it will be lighter than when it is wet. And so the rutub is wet, and when it dries out, for example, I'm going to trade a kilo of rutub for a kilo of tamr, but when my kilo of rutub dries out, it might only be 3/4 of a kilo, or when it dries out, it might be 1 1/4 kilo, or it might, you understand, it might something along these lines, where the person on the other half is not getting an equal amount. هذا والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.